Tanna Jakubowicz-Mount. And I've been dreaming about this gathering for years and years, because I believe that the time is right for us elders to sit in council and bring our visions and our intuitions to how can we apply our wisdom and experience to the world today. And our elder comes. So I envision this council as a representation of global wisdom of the community. So the elders sit in a circle because they represent the whole transpersonal and larger community of people who transform their life experience into the wisdom of the heart. That's how I envision the elder, someone who can really deeply transform the experience of life, and whatever we've been doing this ourselves, training, learning, working, practicing. How can we really apply it for the service of humanity? So I imagine this council as weaving the tapestry of our different threads we are putting in, like our visions, intuitions, our feelings, our images of how we would like to put our love in action, as I say, because this is my drive, to put my love in action. And let me how do you say? Let me introduce, right? Let me introduce the distinguished elders sitting here. And this is Judith Miller and Lindy McMullin and Zana Marovic, right? And I don't know if I pronounce your name.
Do you want to try? Do you want to just do it? Help you. It's Marcie.
Marcie.
Boucouvalas, yeah.
Say it again.
Boucouvalas.
Boucouvalas.
Excellent, yeah.
David Lukoff. Vladimir, Maikov. And? Vitor Rodrigues. So.
And Ashok.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ashok. You're sitting between two ladies. You're invisible.
I am.
He's never invisible.
I'm eclipsed. Eclipsed by the Sophias. I meant the feminine energy.
So, our time is very precious because, we don't have much time. We could sit many nights here, but this night is rather short for us. So we have about an hour and a half, and I would ask you, as I did before, if you have any message and you want to convey this message, do it in the most essential way, trying to get into the heart of your message. And after all the elders will talk, then we can exchange, go into deeper discussion, but leaving our discursive minds behind. Rather, speaking from the heart, listening from the heart, not comparing, not judging. Because the council of elders and the circle is a sacred ceremony. That's the way I've been taught by my medicine men and women, indigenous people from Northwest America, this is the sacred space we create here, and it's connected to the sacred space of our creation, through the vibrations, through all the energy lines. So whatever we say here, reverberate, how do you say reverberate? Through the whole field. So, and welcome all the participants of our gathering. And when you have questions or you want to comment something, we invite you to do it after elders talk. Okay? Just notice what you want to add, what resonates for you, and when you finish, like everybody will be sharing, then we invite you to share with us. Okay? Oh. I don't know if I said everything I wanted to say at the beginning, but let's start. And I would start from lighting the candle. And I would like to light the candle with a little prayer. And I would pray for us to really meet on a heart level. And I'm praying for us to find the best possible words in service for other people. And I would pray for our ancestors and spiritual leaders to be with us, to support us, to share their ancient knowledge and wisdom with us. If you want to add any prayer, this is the time.
I ask that the source of all our collective wisdom of the ages that is holding us right here, right now, would guide us in this heartfelt sharing. To speak words that will move the planet in the deepest way to healing and to uplift humanity.
There is something very sacred that is taking place. This is what I feel. And I'm very grateful to you, Tanna. And I'm also grateful to my understanding of how important this was for you, so that I can ask for the recording of it and to place it in the place that it needs to be. It is not just a workshop. Just a meeting, it is something much greater. And for this, I thank you.
I believe we need to talk a little louder for people behind us, right? Even if the circle is very intimate here, but we need to get across.
I want to thank you, Tanna, for your patience over the years of waiting for this.
Thank you.
This has been a dream of yours for years, and you've been patient. You've been accepting when it didn't happen, and you've been gentle, and I just think you've been a real model for what this is about.
Thank you. Thank you for your appreciation. please come to the circle. Yeah. So whoever feels like.
I really want to thank you for the good energy that you're bringing forth. And it's helpful. Just in honor of the whole human species that we're really all trying to work with and for at that level. So thank you.
We still need to raise our voices, I'm sorry. Okay, whoever feels, like sharing, it doesn't have to be, full. Just what comes to you right now.
I've been pondering a little bit about small wisdom.
Zana, please.
I've been pondering a little bit, a while, about the wisdom thing. And coming from South Africa, what for me was kind of relevant to share and bring today, being such a multicultural society, I find that it's a huge struggle for us working as a therapists and healers in respect of the Western paradigm. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the global psychology or unified healing. And what for me was very relevant is over the last 5-6 years I've been trying to connect with traditional healers in South Africa and bring them to the training of psychologists. So I just wanted to read a little piece about the wisdom of the indigenous cultures, which includes the African, South American, and all the other indigenous cultures, which personally I feel that's why transpersonal field appeals to me, because it brings that unique cultural perspectives and it makes that psychology more global, which is what I think is very relevant for us working with human beings and people that are so different.
Please make efforts to deliver it the way they hear.
Okay. The important future goal is to include big picture wisdom while we construct a global psychology that applies to all humans but retains cultural uniqueness. Indigenous psychology will facilitate understanding of people in their cultural context, open the door to development of wide compassion toward other cultures, as well as instigate a path toward universal psychology. The indigenous psychology becomes a seed of humanity that inspires the humankind to work collaboratively towards a harmonious and prosperous global village. So we suggest, this was from the point of maybe South African or African and indigenous, we suggest or we would like to bring the depth exploration of African and other indigenous knowledge that engages in dialogue with shamans and traditional healers, and we would like to acknowledge the indigenous wisdom as the crucial task for us being transpersonal psychologists. So I would like to say that integration of transpersonal, African and all the indigenous insights is a wise way forward to assist people in diverse cultures to improve their lives and potentially bring consciousness renewal that extends from the local cultures to the global community.
Just give it to the next person. If you feel like talking, you can talk. If not, you can be silent.
I was just wondering what could touch the heart of humanity in every culture, particularly the young, particularly aged 18 to 25, or even 16 to 25 age group. basically in Scotland near Vladimir, and he started, I think you'll be interested in this, he started an educational program for 14 to 15-year-olds called Aspire and Inspire, and this has now reached 100,000 children in the Commonwealth and Scotland all over the world, and they've written just 3 pages of what their life pattern will be, who their model will be, and they took Mandela, many of them, and I think something like that, which could reach through the internet millions of people, young people, would be something to think about.
I think that we cannot give up, ever. I know that I will not give up. This conference has been a lesson in itself of not giving up. I have really fought very, very hard and for very many years, and very often thought that I would give up, but I haven't. And then suddenly the Spirit brings us something. I feel very, very touched because Spirit has brought a school in Athens, a school whose owner is here as a participant. I don't know if she's here in the room. It doesn't really matter, but who accepted me when I went in. And it was something that I heard today when John Drew gave his workplace seminar and said we shouldn't really talk about transpersonal. I went into the school and I said, I'm a transpersonal person. I sent my bio, and I was invited to give on mindfulness, a seminar to all the teachers. I did. And this school is brave enough in Athens to ask me to do mindfulness training with all the teachers, the bus drivers, the monitors, the administrative staff, and I have a part-time job of once a month teaching mindfulness to kindergarten children. And this is something that has made my heart feel very, very happy, because if we don't give it to the kids, who are we going to give it to? Because they are on their machines, but their soul is so hungry to learn. And so I really hope after this project of the conference that has taken my 1 year of time, that I can really invest in the kids. I've worked with them many, many years, and many children have passed through my hands. The planet belongs to them, and I would like to know that I'm doing something to make their path easier than mine was.
Thank you. I resonate with what has been shared, especially the call to the planetary family across our profound diversity and multiplicity, which is sacred, to nevertheless find ways, creative ways to connect as one human family, to rise to the higher culture. And what gives me hope is the awareness increasingly in my journey as a philosopher across borders on this planet, to listen to the wisdom of our great teachers and our elders. And they all saw that there's a fundamental reality, a fundamental field, or whatever name, whether you call it Yahweh, or Allah, or Tao, or Brahman, or Shunyata, or whatever name, Christ, it's infinite, and it's infinite presence. It's right here, and it's presiding, and it's moving every iota of existence, and supporting it and funding it in every way. And for us humans in our journey, our great teachers saw the medicine was to recognize that we're in an evolutionary journey and an adolescent stage of awakening from an ego-mental calculus and mental processing that's holding us captive and holding us in crisis and dysfunction. But the hope is that we're being called to mature to a higher form of intelligence and literacy, a non-dual, integral, holistic human dialogue across borders. And to me, that is the hope for the planet. Can we move from monologue to dialogue? Can we mature as ego sapiens to logo sapiens? And it's a great moment been a long journey, and I feel we're at the edge. And I have reason for hope, and that the youth will blossom. And I teach youth 18 to 22, 24. And they're alive, and they're hungry, and they're ready. So something is stirring on the planet. I have 5 children, ages 18 to 53, and they're engaged. And I want to see the world move for them, as we all do. And I think the secret of deep dialogue across borders is the call of the wisdom. And our transpersonal enterprise is focused on that as well. And I think we're poised to make a difference in holding that intention and calling out humanity.
Did you all hear how many children does he have?
Yeah.
From 18 to 50.
28 to 53.
28.
Wow.
Well, I have 6 grandchildren. I have hope, but there's a part of me that's losing it. And I ask that we really work at bringing the sacred into transpersonal psychology. I don't think that it's taken as seriously as it should. I think, for me, what transpersonal is about is pure sacredness. It's about the holy, whatever you call that. And as a psychologist, as a transpersonal psychologist, I know the importance of paying attention to the fears and the unresolved emotions and the shadow that we all hold. But that's subsumed or under the umbrella of the sacred. And I think we, at this point of time, which is feeling more and more extreme to me, that we all have to be spiritual warriors. Spiritual warriors that take big risks. My own personal belief is that we don't try to fit in to the existing paradigm, because if we try to fit in and figure out strategies of how to deal and how to meet people where they are, then I think we enable darkness to continue to move and to get stronger. We have to use the light to dissolve the shadow, which means we have to be able to see that in our communities, in our environment, in our societies, there is darkness, just like there's extraordinary light. If we don't pay attention to the darkness, it's going to get stronger and stronger. It won't disappear unless we really direct the light onto it in a very strong manner. And that means being warriors, and that means taking risks. And that means that our egos have to be destroyed at this stage, I think, in consciousness evolution. Because if not, it's not going to work. That's what my feeling is right now.
Well, I would say I agree with that almost totally, but I'm mostly an optimist. Yeah, I would say I agree with Judith to an extent, but I'm mostly an optimist. And also to the esoteric stuff. So, first of all, I really believe that the transpersonal movement has the responsibility of connecting, so being a bridge, in the old sense of being pontifex, between the center of light of our planet, meaning those beings we consider to be in a way the spiritual rulers of the planet, and I directly mean Shambhala, and the hierarchy of beings of light, and the common human being to some extent. I think we have that on our shoulders to some extent, and I believe to do so we must really assume that we are deeply in our souls a human family. We are a humankind, and as such we have also the responsibility of playing a role as a global humankind, not just among us, but towards the rest of the planet, meaning other realms of nature, other kingdoms of nature. So we must to some extent be the gardeners of the planet. And I also think that at the same time we become a global humanity, as we should, we are opening to other humanities. I think by now they are even inviting us to become consciously part of a bigger humanity. And I don't mean just this planet, I mean others. And so, of course, we must be daring and be ready to be attacked and all of that. I'm also saying this here, and I wouldn't say this in many other places. It would be pointless. And of course, to become a human, a global humanity, I also agree that education is fundamental. But we also must, in a way, perhaps educate ourselves to have this kind of role. I also think that sometimes a human being can be a majority of one, as Thoreau would say. So,
I'm mostly practitioner. I'm working about 43 years with people. And my deepest concern is about most people being disconnected from the life sources and roots. And therefore, I call it spiritually homeless and hungry. And because people don't feel their roots, their connection to Mother Earth and to the universe, we are so hungry that we are devouring the Mother Earth alive. And feeding by, just substitutes of real nourishment, which is, money and power and gadgets and just sucking everything in, because after the ages of disconnection and separation, we are left with the wounded heart and the empty soul, which is replenishing by ersatz, by the everything from outside, the gadgets, the drugs, alcohol, sucking in, and so my passion is to create a space for people and usually this is like in ceremonial rituals or in shamanic workshops or in something we call alter career, which is finding the real passion for life, the real calling, to reconnect with Mother Earth and with universe, feeling one with it, and finding the way home. And I believe that if most people will feel home here, they wouldn't be lonely or fearful, angry, full of violence. They wouldn't feel alien in a hostile universe. They would feel at home. So my activity is to do everything to transform this destructive energy coming from the disconnection, the separation, the repression of the mother, of the goddess, the mother. Because without the mother, we are just motherless children. And because the mother was removed from our household, we had to shut our hearts because we were so longing and yearning for the mother, for her unconditional love. And when we shut our hearts, we lost the connection between our hearts and crown chakra, and we lost the spiritual connection. So we need to bring the mother back to our household and to really deeply reconnect with her unconditional love. Because I really believe that love is the best medicine, has the most healing and bounding power, and it's universal, and it's penetrating everything and bounding us together. So my confession is I believe in religion of love, and I believe it can really bring us together as one, as many prophecies of indigenous people say, that the time will come when the new human, they call it, well, doesn't matter. Many people say that there's a new world, new earth, and new human coming, born of our, flesh and bones and our blood and our essence, from our real potential, from our higher potential. So that's for now. That's what I've been doing, and of course we are evolving. We are eldering. We're not in the state of elderhood. Maybe we're still evolving and eldering. So that's as far as I see right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanna, for inviting me to this circle. And first, I hope this will not be one more circle, but something that gives a real message or something real. And many of us who spoke about indigenous tradition, ancient tradition. In Brazil, the ancient, traditional healer has a word that is ashe. The ashe is the sacred force of the life. There is something that you see in the eyes of the shaman, that you see when you avatar, when say, I see you, is this. When I see the ashe, when I feel the ashe. And I don't know why, but the life brought me in Brazil since '82. And all that I learned since that time, that is 27 years, where I was 27 years old. I learned in Brazil, I learned working with shamans of different traditions, because the Brazil is a planet. There are many different traditions, working with clans of power. power too. And but all these we can reduce in this world, the Ashok. And the Ashok come out from the eyes, come out from the chest when we are in the art. But to be in the art, that is to work in transpersonal field, to be in contact with the essence, with the oneness, is something that we can easily say, but it's very hard to do. It's a work that we have to do every day. And I think saying our conference, our community, the word that I feel inside me is to dare. We have to dare more and more and more to understand and to be in contact with the ancient tradition. And to have more and more. My experience was that there is a price for that. I think all of us have a long life, and you know that all things has a price. In my these 30 years living with this experience in Brazil, I went in jail. I had accidents. I was my first marriage finished. Was a very was a struggle for many years, and I saw that all this happened to us, all the sorrows or the problems are proportional to our awareness and to our compassion. More we dare to stay in the art, and more we dare to let the ego apart, less we have problems and sorrows in our life. So, to dare more is my message.
Thank you.
For the last several months, like many other Russians, I'm living in a new situation. Since the world as we know it before changed. And if you look now through Russian newspapers and the internet, as I do each day, through European newspapers, through American newspapers, you can give, you can get very interesting picture of the news. And the milestone was situation in Ukraine at the end of the last year when me, my friend, Russian intellectual, was looking for truth. And we did found truth. We found ideology, we found propaganda, we found lie from every side, from Russian side in different newspapers, from American side, from Ukrainian side. Everything, everybody were lying. It was just great revelation for me personally. There is no not engaged free journalism, mass media. And what to do in this situation? How to know truth, how to orient, how to direct further. And at this time, for me, the very healing important experience was a reconnection with Dalai Lama 14, whom I met personally many years ago, actually 32 years ago in Buryatia. It's a Buddhist region of Russia near Baikal Lake. I traveled there being a postgraduate student of the Institute of Philosophy, and it happens that a Buddhist temple, Dalai Lama came with official visit. And I remember very clear when he arrived, and there was a group of local monks and pilgrims, and he was with his guards, and he escaped through guards and shake hands and laughing. I was in outer circle, and I was ashamed, and I just make sign by my hand, and he responded. He responded, and he laughing, and I wasn't sure that it's for me. Is it for me? Your Holiness? Yes, yes, and he was like a child. Yeah, something like that. And you know, for me, 32 years ago, and now is the real message of wisdom in action. It was a concrete link between him and me, and he showed me what is the middle way in action, and what is the source of his playfulness, of his everything. And for me, to be in the middle, to not to be attracted to extremes in any situation. Tetralemma baina gardena, if you can express in the language of philosophy.
What did you just say? I'm sorry.
Tetralemma, nagarjuna tetralemma.
Which is?
It's the same as escape extreme, being in the center, middle path, the philosophy of middle path.
Nagarjuna is a great
It's
Buddhist teacher.
very, 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 very
the opening of the middle.
important, and one of the most practical importance.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a beautiful story. I've been struck by the wisdom of traditional people in my work in Latin America. And when I was with the Yanomami Indians, they were telling me how they did not burn their garbage because they were afraid that the noxious smoke would go up through all 7 layers of the heavens and leave a hole for the sun to come down and shine directly on the people and give them sunburns and diseases. And they have been holding that tradition long before we heard about global warming. And in Brazil, among the Guarani Indians, I was there at a time that we had a sacred ceremony in one of the temples, small temples of the Guarani, and we were each asked to give a prayer, and most of the prayers were very, very general. The Americans, of course, didn't know too much about what was going on in Brazil. But my prayer was that the Guarani young people stop hanging themselves from the trees and killing themselves to protest the ranchers and the developers taking over their land, which was illegal, but of course they did anyway. And the shaman, Ate Guarani, in charge of the process, said, "How did you know what our young people were doing?" I said, "Well, I'm a member of the Rainforest Action Network in San Francisco, and one of your people came up and informed us, and it's been, you know, a great concern to me ever since." And I said, "There are other ways that are nonviolent that you can stop this." And I told them the story about my old friend Rolling Thunder, who's an American Indian medicine man, and when the developers came and cut down the pinon nut trees, the pinon nuts or the pine nuts were a source of protein for poor Indians, they simply went out in the middle of the night and took photographs and videotapes of the tractors, and then in the distance took videotapes of the tractors tearing down the trees. And once they had the videotapes, on the next night they came and put sand in the engines of the tanks and the tractors, and that stopped them cold for a while. In the meantime, they took the videos and the photographs to Washington, D.C. This was some years ago. The only politician who would listen to them was Senator Ted Kennedy. And Senator Kennedy actually was able to get the executive order to stop the destruction of the pinon nut trees. Well, that was a non-peaceful, a non-violent, very peaceful way of creating massive social change. And I said, maybe you can get inspired by that. Maybe you can find some people who will go to Funai, which is a Brazilian Indian organization, and get some lawyers to start prosecuting, and that will be more effective than having your young boys and girls kill themselves. The world doesn't give a damn about young Indians killing themselves. That's not going to stop anything. But the force of the law and public opinion as a result of media exposure will. And that's what they then started to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that inspiring story. So I'm going to talk specifically about transpersonal psychology and it being in a state of metamorphosis and what role the next generation can play in its unfolding. In my talk on Thursday, I shared about how transpersonal psychology pioneered the integration of meditation and mindfulness, spirituality, psychedelics, the use or the appreciation for indigenous wisdom, and the other religious traditions of the world from Asia and South America and so on. So transpersonal psychology was in a really critical role in bringing these elements into the world in a way that they have now blossomed. And each of those things I mentioned has become like a field of its own. Mindfulness is a field of its own. It has its own conferences. Spirituality has its own conferences. So what is that transpersonal psychology is doing now that is unique? Well, I think one of the things we are doing is holding conferences like this one, which attract people from many different countries. Do you know how many countries are represented? 33 countries. I don't think there's another, I'm not aware of other conferences which have that kind of international appeal. And when they do, they're mostly scientifically oriented presentations that where everyone is on the same wavelength. What we have cultivated and pioneered as a field is conferences where we share and appreciate our differences, our different faiths, our different practices, our different traditions, and so on. And here we are doing that in Crete. Next year, there will be a conference in Brazil. In 2017, a group of us are planning a conference in China. And maybe by that time, it will be possible to have a transpersonal psychology conference in the Middle East. So I think one of the things that transpersonal psychology is still doing that is unique is having gatherings of people where people really appreciate their differences and share all the unique things in their cultural backgrounds and their beliefs. And that's something that I'd really like to see continue, and I think transpersonal psychology can continue also to play a pioneering role in creating these kinds of cross-cultural, appreciative dialogues. So I'm hoping that all of you in the next couple of generations will carry on that mission of transpersonal psychology.
Yeah, thanks, David. I actually very much resonate with what you're saying, and I've given that a lot of thought as well, because transpersonal psychology has very much been on the vanguard in the past. I really do believe that there's areas where we could still be on the vanguard. We're so worried about academic psychology right now in terms of not being respected, and we're trying to actually sort of force ourselves into the paradigm that already exists from a research perspective. And I'm wondering if we listen to what Irvin Laszlo is saying about a coming second revolution in science, I wonder, and I have a vision, if
transpersonal psychology can't be in the vanguard of that, rather than leaving ourselves in an unapologetic perspective. I think that we have to be really careful not to be too insular. My notion of transpersonal, I see transpersonal psychology as the heartthrob and the heartbeat of a much larger transdisciplinary movement. And I don't think we can do it without the disciplines that focus on the macro context. The sociologist, the anthropologist, we have a physicist here. I don't know if she's in the room right now. We have an anthropologist. So I have a vision of a future conference that's, I still believe transpersonal psychology is the heartbeat and heartthrob because we're dealing with the human species, but that involving the other disciplines in this also, and not being afraid that we're going to, dilute ourselves in the process. I have a number of other things, but I'm going to pass it on now. But I do want to pick up on what you said about other planets. And I don't think I'd say this in a whole host of other audiences.
Just
but,
do it.
when I was little, I thought I came from another planet.
Just talk louder so people...
Yeah, well, when I was little, I thought I came from another planet. And I used to write these essays and these little things in the third, fourth grade. Oh, what a vivid imagination she has. But to me, it really wasn't an imagination at all. It's like I said, you have to actually kill creatures in order to live. You have to kill living creatures, let alone plants. Well, on my planet, what we did is we had a source of energy, and we made our own food just like these plants do. So I just want to pass that on for its worth because I'm still I've learned to be human now, but it's been a process, and I just the whole notion of being insular is very very much concerned to me. Even I've spent 35 years in a mainstream institution, and what's worked for me is going one-on-one with different disciplines because they're my friends, they're my colleagues. So I can go to, and I'm in Washington, D.C. too. I'm just outside of Washington, D.C. And so I can go to my public administration colleagues and talk over coffee, and then transpersonal comes up. And then we talk about what it means. So I've just navigated in that direction, but I've also worked with UNESCO, so I think there's a lot of potential if we don't remain insular. So thank you.
Thank you. Let us check if you have anything to share. What is your real message for people right now? And share it from the heart. So if you have it, great. If not, you can have time to.
I hope this fits with what you're asking about. But I think over my whole career in therapy, I had a big interest in families staying together. And just to make a point, I would say that the breakdown of a family should be called a spiritual emergence issue. It's a confusion that the capacity to create life is no longer powerful enough for couples to have a connection to the amazing, incomparable power of babies. And that a baby can have a beauty that lasts its whole lifetime, that reminds the parents who they are. I think that we should, not exactly shift, but let's say expand the idea of spiritual emergence, which so far as I understand tracking it, has to do with high-level mystical experiences that are confusing to people. I think this is ground-level mystical experience of what is a woman, what is a man to a woman, what is a woman to a man, what is a baby to a parent. I just published a book on all of this, and I kept realizing how sad that I had to plead the case of what is a zygote. Does it count? I was shocked. Zygote goes back to the Sanskrit word yogi. It's the first union of the two halves of the universe in one being. So there's so many beautiful things that I came across, and then I worked in prisons for 4.5 years with kids, and none of them come from great homes. And I think all of them would have had a much better chance if their parents had been supported that was the key focus of our movement or other movements. So,
yeah. Thank you for mentioning the spiritual emergence, because I believe our world is in the global spiritual emergency and emergence coming out of it. And if we see the world as our patient in spiritual emergency process, and we could apply what is our deepest knowledge and experience to people who are really evolving, but in a very painful way. I've heard in Findhorn, someone said that we are the nurses of the old dying man and dying world, and the midwives of the new world and the new human. And how should we go through this global emergency to help to really serve people, in the process of dying of the old and emerging, being born of the new. And maybe we don't have the time to go through the whole, circle again. But, and Lindy told me that we don't have much time.
No, we don't have that much time because we have a healer that is going to do the incubation.
Okay. But I would encourage you to write your message. Maybe, when you focus and you can write it, maybe it can come out, in a kind of more, consolidated or consistent. No. I forgot the word, doesn't matter. But I encourage you to write your message and send it to me, and then we can make maybe with Vitor, who is also facilitating the circle, to make the report on what elders were saying in our council, and send it to everybody. You mean we don't have time for audience?
Of course we do.
So we do have a time?
We have about 15 minutes. We need to finish in about 10 to 15 minutes.
So why don't we give it to people who are sitting there and behind us, and we can.
My name is Vanetta. I kind of come representing Latvia in a way, but I've grown up in Australia, and my connection with Indigenous Aboriginal people in Australia has been over the last 40 years. And I've been a sister, I've been an aunt, and now I'm an elder in a certain community. And because we are constantly referring to kind of Indigenous knowledge and as such a source, and I know for the Aboriginal Australians who have been very dispossessed of their culture have also retained an incredible connection, and it is through that connection, and especially of the stolen generation, people know about this, that the generations that were lost, that were removed from parents, and have been in incredible crisis, are finding their source. And I work with young people, and I'm part of facilitating a kind of retreats that are the journeys of the female spirit. This is mostly connecting with young women who might have children who have also, it's family disintegration, and finding through their connections, and they're not trusting of white people. Individually maybe, but I mean we don't have anyone here representing anything real indigenous culture, of that culture. I think I personally have learnt an amazing amount from, as a foreigner in the land of Australia, from those people who know that land, and that land is not to be possessed. And the sacred is in the tree, it is in the stars, it is in everything. This is a voice that I would also, I think, like to see in this community when we talk very academically about things. There are very academic Aboriginal Australian people, but really the roots of the medicine men, the medicine women, come from that spirit and that connection to that spirit and how it can translate into the other generations. And I see it in these young women particularly, how then they grow in strength, how their whole posture changes, and it's a very beautiful thing. And I just wanted to bring it up in a way I would like to see it incorporated in this circle, in the transverse.
Thank you. I'm Rhoda from South Africa. My core energy is a Native American medicine woman, and I found it particularly difficult initially to be born in white skin. My early years, I refused to wear anything else but Apache clothes. But through the years, I learned why, because I'm in Africa and I need to be an activist to protect consciousness. And with a strong link with St. Francis of Assisi, through the years, a platform has developed which I'd like to offer to the elders. It's been developed with a group of elders I work with in South Africa, and these platforms we're creating globally to protect consciousness and to incubate pure consciousness and many of the issues you've discussed in the inner circle, to transcend all disciplines and to work very closely with the youth and on the platforms in circles with wisdom, to change the planet, very closely connected also with Mother Earth. So I'm just offering these platforms for whatever way, because we're creating them globally, whichever way the circle of elders would like to use.
Thank you. There's another person.
As a white South African, I would like to see Africa represented, because I personally have learned so much from working with people in rural areas. They've taught me how to laugh and sing and value things that I don't get from the universities. But I'd like to just say that it would be really nice to also have the most wonderful young people that I've met in this conference, who've got the wisdom way beyond what I was concerned with when I was 25. I think I was taking drugs and dancing and burning my bra. And the wisdom of some of these people, these young people, these volunteers, has just been amazing. And that's given me such hope. You know, as an old crone, I look at these young people and I just think, maybe the world is in safe hands. So I think we need to acknowledge that and foster that. And maybe they should be sitting in a circle as well, you know, a separate circle. So I just want to say I've met the most wonderful man of 25 who's translating Sanskrit, Buddhist texts, and just amazing people. So wherever you got all these volunteers from, so special.
Can I ask? You see, it's amazing because it's the energy that one puts into something.
Yeah.
That you send out, and you have all these wonderful people that come back. Because we just sent a message out looking for volunteers, and I unfortunately, there are no Greek volunteers. They're all from different countries. And I know that Greece is struggling at the moment, but that is the whole point. We need to listen to the young people because they have the wisdom. And I just want to share this, that I've always had a very positive outlook with Mother Earth. I always think that Mother Earth has everything that she has inside of her to heal herself. But tonight, when we all started talking, I heard that cry that I've been denying up to now, with her saying that unless you acknowledge me, I cannot survive on my own. And it's something I'm going through and experiencing in this conference, because of course, I mean, I've predominantly worked on this myself, and I've pulled in other people that I understand didn't have the experience, and I didn't have it myself. But the point is that by ourselves, it's what Bernadette Blind said, we're all imaginal cells, and each one of us are scattered across the universe like stars. But unless we join up together, and unless we really consciously connect, there is not going to be a change. If we do consciously connect, I think that we can do wonders. This is a wonder. I believe that the whole consciousness, I mean, it might be like a child, because I am very childlike at times, that all the people will gather in Crete, and we will raise the consciousness level of Greece. This is my dream, of course, because something inside of me is a spirit. I'm not Greek. And I don't particularly, feel that easy with the culture, etc. But it's the spirit of the land. And it's what you're saying. And we have to connect with the spirit of the land. And if we can connect with the spirit of the land, that in itself, I think, will be the solution. And yes, we're all prone, we are elders, but what are we teaching the young people today? This is where we have to really focus. We need to give them love, and we need to give them support, because I think that their souls are much more torn than ours. They're tough ones, but they have an incredible wisdom.
Yeah, I'm glad you said what you did, because I just want to end with, I feel a real urgency. And, that's what I tried to say before. I think it's really critical now. And I'm usually an optimist, and I want to stay an optimist, but I think we need to be conscious of the significance and the urgency and the severity of what's going on now in every aspect of our world. And I think we need to pay attention to that.
Tanna, I don't have the stick, but can I please, as president, just say something?
Yes.
I would really like to propose the following, that before you all leave, I don't have paper in my bag, it seems to have disappeared, that we all write down our emails, and I would like to initiate the Council of Elders Circle, and that we keep an email contact, and we add all these things that you say, and everybody can reply. So we keep responding. That would be really nice.
This is my dream, and I believe we all have fractals of this dream in our hearts and minds. So when we put the fractals together, they reflect each other, and we can make the whole out of it. So I would ask you to...
Do you have paper?
I was just thinking that
We'll do
take
it.
a piece of paper.
Good. We'll do it when we finish this.
I'd like to end with the prayer.
Everybody in the circle?
Yes?
Yes, just a second. Okay, I'd like to end with a prayer. Prayer. That we all come home, sit at the table, and that there is enough love and bread for everybody. And thank you so much for joining the council, and I really hope for our future together, for real deep exchange and support and inspiration. Thank you so much. And now we turn and thank people. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. That's the beginning.
Beautiful statement.
Here we have paper and a pen.